What's good, everybody, man? Welcome back into the Bluebloods here as we continue our FCS NFL Draft Spotlight ahead of the 2024 NFL Draft. And we are joined today by not just one of the most accomplished receivers in the FCS, but college football in general, man. Two-time FCS All-American, consensus All-American in 2022, was named the FCS ADA Wide Receiver of the Year, the all-time leader in receiving touchdowns at Idaho, two-time All-Big Sky selection, preseason Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year, finished his collegiate career with over 3,400 receiving yards and 33 career receiving touchdowns. My guy, Hayden Hatten. Hayden, man, appreciate you hopping on the show.
Hey, Zach, thank you so much for having me. I need to take you places. You can introduce me everywhere. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, hey, no need for a business card, man. Just take the recording from the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
But man, we got so much to get into. This one I know a lot of our listeners and myself have been looking forward to. But you made an unconventional decision, man. We don't see a lot of FCS guys declare early with a year of eligibility left. Talk to me about your decision to do that, and when did you officially decide that you were just going to forgo that last year and it was your time to take your talents to the next level?
Yeah, with the COVID year of eligibility, I felt like I was at a point where I did what I had to do at the University of Idaho, and I feel like I'm ready for the NFL. Like I think if there's a time, the time's now, and strike while the iron's hot. And so I wasn't really sure what my decision was going to be. I just knew that towards like middle end of the year that I wanted to graduate as a Vandal, finish my career as a Vandal, and I just wasn't interested in the transfer portal, and so I had some people reach out to me with the extra year of eligibility, trying to get me to come up, and I just there's so many different scenarios that you could play out in your head. That's like, oh, do I stay another year at Idaho? Do I transfer? Do I declare? And all of them have different outcomes, and you never know which one's the right decision. But I felt like I did what I had to do at the University of Idaho. I love the University of Idaho, and I just couldn't imagine putting on a different jersey than Idaho. So I was either going to come back and play another year at Idaho, or I was going to declare to the draft, and that's kind of where my head was at, and that's how I ended up here.
All the future wide receivers probably thank you, man, because the records probably would have been set so high with another year at Idaho that everyone would have just been fighting for second place in terms of career receiving yards, touchdowns, and
Yeah,
stuff. But
I think I was like a short 100 away from all-time career receiving yards. So if I would have came back another year, it would have been tough to touch. But yeah, I was ready to move on, and my name's in the record books there now, and the people of Idaho, I think appreciated the fact that I stayed and wasn't interested in leaving for my last collegiate year.
It's crazy just looking at your journey from high school to Idaho. I mean, a lot of people don't know you came out as a tight end and actually played your first season on campus as a tight end. Was the transition difficult? I mean, obviously there's a lot of similarities, maybe some blocking, being an inline guy or something like that at tight end. How difficult was the transition, and have you taken anything from your time as a tight end that you helped translate to wide receiver?
Yeah, I think well, so first talking about the transition, it wasn't really much of a transition for me because um, I was a wide receiver in high school, and I played true wide receiver, and I did actually like exactly what I did at the University of Idaho. I played outside, inside, a little bit of extended like wing if they needed me to, towards like my younger years, and it wasn't anything that I was against when they were recruiting me as a tight end. It's just you get in a position where you're an 18-year-old kid looking to go play college football, and all you want to do is be on scholarship somewhere, and the University of Idaho offered me as a tight end, and so I wasn't the most heavily recruited kid at a high school. And when I got the opportunity to go to Idaho, I was ecstatic. I was like, let's go! My twin brother is coming here with me, and so it was just a perfect situation to where I didn't really care what position I was playing. I just wanted to be playing, and so when they took me in, I put on a lot of weight and tried my hardest to be a tight end. And I mean, I wasn't bad at blocking. I was a little undersized for blocking like a 275-pound DN, but I was working as hard as I could to do it. And every day at practice, I remember really liking the blocking drills and everything. It was a lot less running than receiver. So, so yeah, I did that for my first like 9 games. And then Coach Petrino just, saw the way I was running. And when I was playing in the game, I was really a slot tight end, right? Like our 12 personnel, but really I was every team in the Big Sky counted me as an 11 personnel guy. And so towards the end of the year, Coach Petrino was like, you know what, let's throw Hatton out at the X. He's been working hard and he's earned it. And scored 2 touchdowns in my first start as a true receiver and never gave the spot back. And, everything kind of funneled from there. But I definitely learned a lot from playing tight end. I think the one thing that I learned the most, like obviously there's a lot of blocking technique and stuff that goes into playing tight end, but what I learned the most is actually understanding offense, because you learn both run and pass as a tight end. And I think that's a lot of people like who don't understand football don't understand how difficult it is to understand the entire concept. Like a lot of people here, like say like your 60s is a blocking protection, and then you have like Oriole as your route concept, right? Well, if you're only a wide receiver, you only understand the route concept. You don't really understand what's going on at the front line. And when you're a tight end, you have to know them both. And so you have to understand, okay, 60, that means chip flat for the tight end. And then you kind of put all the puzzle pieces together as a wide receiver. You're like, okay, this is what's happening in this coverage. The corner should, if it's cover 2, he's going to stay in the flat. He'll take away the arrow, which means the window for I don't know if you have a tight corner route going in, the window for the corner route should be there, right? So it just really helped me understand the entire offensive scheme. And I think that helped me just learn defenses, learn what's kind of happening when we're running the ball, right? Like who should I be blocking as a receiver? If you watch my tape, a lot of the times I'm going in and I'm blocking safeties instead of corners because of the run concept, right? And it's like, this makes the most sense. Or like, oh, this is cover 4, the corner's going to back up, the safety's probably the run fitter. I need to go in there and dig out the safety. And so I think a lot of that translated to my run blocking as a receiver and just gave me a better perspective of offense in general.
That's a great point, because listen, I played offensive line, so I feel you on the blocking schemes. You only listen to half the play for certain positions, but like I really like how you broke that down, because I think people who haven't played don't understand. Like they think everyone on the whole field knows the whole playbook and all the different concepts, and that's not how it is. It's like you listen for your one part, and then you go do your job, and everyone else does theirs. I love how you broke that down, man. You missed a good bit of the 2021 season with an injury, which was the year before your consensus All-American year. How difficult was it for you off the field, overcoming that injury, and did your preparation trying to work your way back from injury kind of springboard you into your consensus All-American season the next year?
It was I've been asked this question quite a bit, and I'm a very fortunate person where I've never really lost any loved ones or anybody close to me. So when I get asked like, what's the toughest adversity you've been through, in your collegiate career or something, it's definitely that injury. I've never missed a game due to injury. I think I missed in high school. I never missed a game, and in college in the 2021 season, the year after the 2021 season, I missed one game with like a hyperextension, which was nothing serious. So this is my first real injury that took me out of an entire year. And so it's definitely a mental battle, but just looking at it as an opportunity. I didn't redshirt as a freshman, and I didn't know how many years of college I wanted to play. So when that happened, I was bummed, but I only played in 3 games. So I was like, okay, well, at least I get the year back. You start like some positive self-talk, like at least I get this, or at least, okay, I have the COVID year as well. So I have another year, and you kind of break it down. For me, what helped me was I just kind of broke it down to segments of like, okay, like you can control what you can control. You're having this surgery. I can't go play this weekend. What can I control? I can control making sure I'm doing the little things to where I can be ready to play next year, right? And try to work as hard as I can to get ready for spring ball. And so what was so tough about the transition was it happened with Coach Petrino as my head coach. And, Coach Petrino trusted me. The previous year I was a sophomore All-American, first team All-Conference as a true sophomore. and, had 100 yards a game, and then he gets let go following the year where I just had my injury, and a new coaching staff comes in. So I didn't really have a resume besides for a year ago to show the new coaching staff what I was able to do, and I had to miss spring ball because of my injury. So I was really behind the eight ball in impressing this new coaching staff and trying to show them what I could do. And I'm almost like living on the glory days of a 6-game season during COVID, and haven't had the opportunity to get on the field and really prove what I could do. And so, following that 2022 season, at the start of the year, that fall camp was kind of my spring ball fall camp, all jammed together, learn the playbook as fast as you can. And, I was fortunate enough to earn a starting role, but I wasn't at the role I knew I could be at, just because I was, I didn't have a ton of play time in front of these coaches. And as a coach, you get paid to win, and you're not going to throw it to a guy that you're not confident in and, put up numbers. And so for the first 4 games, I was had 4 or 5 targets a game, and, wasn't a huge factor. And then as I kind of broke into the offense more, and, as my completion percentage went up, and I'm catching 85% of the balls that come to me in a game, and coaches are like, hey, maybe we should start incorporating them more and more and more into the offense. And as my role grew, my production grew, and I caught my first touchdown 5 games into the season, and I finished the season with 16. So it was a learning curve for the coaches to kind of understand my play style and how I play and how they could use me, but it was also a big learning curve for myself mentally to push through a time like that, because it's so easy, especially nowadays with the kids in the transfer portal. It's so easy for somebody to go, you know what, this coaching staff just, they don't see it in me, and they don't trust me yet. And, I've proven it already. I'm going to get in the portal, and you see that time and time again. And I didn't want to be another one of those stories that just kind of didn't believe in myself. I knew what I could do. I knew that I just had to get in front of the coaches and continue proving it. And, a lot of it happened in practice, and then my role grew bigger in the game. And so I'm really fortunate that everything worked out for me, but it was a lot of hard work to kind of prove to Coach Eck and Coach Slice that I could be a guy.
When you look at when Coach Eck came into the program, I remember the first time that you guys really on a national stage caught the attention of everyone was that Montana game. Where, I mean, you guys pull off the big upset on the road, and everyone was like, okay, well, look, we need to start paying attention to Idaho a little bit more. When you look at what Coach Eck brought to the program, what were the biggest changes that he brought in, and when did you know that year was going to be as special as it ended up being?
Yeah, you really don't know, right? Like you hear every year, this is our year, or so I came from a coaching staff that was I really like Coach Petrino and his coaching staff, but we just weren't winning games, and that's the name of the game. If you don't win, you get released. And so when Coach Eck came in, there was just a lot less pressure on the team. I felt like not that Petrino changed his coaching style because he felt like he had to win, but there's a lot of pressure on a coach that feels like he's got one foot out the door and everybody's looking for an excuse to get rid of him. And so the dome was just a lot more tense, and practices were a lot more tense. And you get a lot of these kids. You get a lot of kids quitting just football, just a lot of pressure on them to where they feel like they're not succeeding. And it's sad, but the biggest difference I noticed, it wasn't the talent. Like when I showed up as a freshman, we had some players like Chuck, who I don't know if you remember them, but we had Christian Ellis, Trey Walker, Noah Ellis. We have these guys who are just, some of them are in the NFL today, and these guys are just great players. And we were struggling winning, and I didn't understand it, right? And then you kind of puzzle piece when you get to a new coaching staff how important it is to have a really good scheme and a really good game plan per team, and be adaptive per team. Like if you watch a lot of our game plan, we don't bring the same offense into every game. Just like the same way these good teams don't bring the same defenses in to play us every game. Like if you watch our games this year, the previous season, I made a pretty big name for myself, and I was getting a lot of cover 2 to the boundary. And I'm like, I would do it too if I were the coaching staff. You saw what happened when we went man to man, I would 100% do that. And so we came up with a lot of schemes to counter that, right? Like a lot of smash concepts to the boundary, taking the field hitch if they're going to give it because they're playing 8 to 10 yards off onto the field. They don't want to get beat on a fade. And so you change your game plan to the team you play, right? And so I think that's something that I noticed with our new coaching staff, that Coach Eck and Coach Slice and Coach Orich, who was the defensive coordinator at Idaho at the time, they just did such a good job of realizing, okay, like we're not going to be cookie cutter and beat everybody with the wing tee, like, and that's our offense. Like we were okay doing stuff that maybe wasn't our strength, but was giving us an advantage in the certain game, right? Like, and there's so many examples I could give you. Like Eastern Washington, we didn't even throw it because they're playing 6 in the box and we run for freaking 400 yards. And it's like, as a receiver, you did your job. They're scared to get beat deep again. I would, and then hats off to that coaching staff for not wanting to get beat deep, so it's like a chess match. You can see how these coaches change and do things differently. And you have to be so ready to adapt just on spot.
Yeah, I think I noticed that a lot because there was a lot of talk with you guys because after the Montana, I want to say it was the Montana game this year, everyone was talking about how the offensive line and stuff like that. And then you go watch like the Eastern Washington game, the offensive line is just dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And Giovanni's not getting hit. And it's just and then on top of that, too, you'll have a big game. Then Jermaine would have a big game. Then you mentioned Anthony Woods. I think he had 5 touchdowns that game, too. Against Eastern Washington. I mean, he put up stupid stats.
And if you watch that game, it's actually hilarious. We would go into 13 personnel because last year we did a lot of 13 personnel to solo me on the goal line on the red zone. And Eastern Washington was playing a corner outside of me and a safety inside of me and bracketing me on the 3-yard line. So you're crazy. One short in the one on the run fit. Like you can't play 2 guys on one receiver and 13 personnel. Then you're going to have a hat for a hat in the box and a running back. Like you don't even have a guy to fill the hole if everybody blocks their guy. So that's why we ran for 5 touchdowns. We'd go into 13 personnel on the goal line. They'd walk 2 guys out over me. And it's like, they're playing me like Megatron. You got to go run the ball. And we just, they couldn't stop us. We had the numbers, and that's another coaching thing. I wouldn't throw the ball when they're playing 2 guys over there, just run it right down the gut. And so that's the biggest difference I saw just in my experience as a college athlete was being somebody, and I'm sure people could take it into life, just being willing to adapt to doing things that you wouldn't typically do, but you just do it because it's going to work for that situation, right? Like you can't be this identity. Oh, this is what we do. We're not going to break it. This is our identity. And then you play a team that all they do is stop that and just try to do it. It doesn't work.
No, I think you saw, man, there's so many examples I can name throughout the season where, I mean, people were just like, why aren't you making the adjustments that need because there was a few matchups. I won't name the teams. I don't want to call anyone out, but it's like they came in with like the number 1 or 2 run defense and they tried to run the ball like 50 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's their strength. Their secondary, they don't really have any elite guys back there. You at least got to put it in the air some. And there were some teams that, like you said, I don't think were adaptable. I think that was a really good point. But, man, I mentioned earlier, career all-time receiving record for touchdowns at Idaho. You set that. When you finally caught that touchdown pass to break the record, what was the feeling like for you? And leading up to it, I mean, how important was that to you to establish yourself as number 1 in that list?
It was it was a very special moment for me. I'm glad I could do it in the Kibbe Dome. I wasn't even thinking about it because it was a tight game against Montana and I wanted to win. And so it was my second touchdown of the second half. And so I guess all I was thinking was go get this onside kick. And then I don't know if you remember the game, but I got called off sides by I don't know how. And
it was a bad call. We can say that.
And so, but that I guess that was the only thing in my head. I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. I think it set in a little more as the season went on, and you're like what a staple of a record to have. If I could pick one record as a receiver, it's it's touchdowns. So being able to set that in the single season record was really special. And I think I beat it by like 6 or something. So whoever's next, I'm excited. It was like a 55-year-old record or 65-year-old record. So hopefully, I'd like to see it broken while I'm alive. Be able to.
That's interesting because there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to see my record broken, but like you would rather be able to go back to the Kibbie Dome or wherever that may be and see that record be broken.
Yeah, 100%. Are you kidding me? The records are made to be broken, and I feel like if like I'm very fortunate to have it, and it's something that I never really thought about till it was on the horizon of being possible, right? You don't roll out of bed as a freshman and go, I'm going to break the all-time school record for touchdowns. So, like you could think it, but it kind of has to get more and more realistic, and you're like looking at it and you're like, wow, like I could do this. I got 12 games left to do 4 touchdowns. All right, like this is very realistic. So but yeah, I'd like to see it broken just because people of Moscow, they deserve another guy to go and ball out and have fun and be a great guy. And hopefully whoever does it is great for the community and, helping sell out the Kibbie Dome. And, it's just, there's nothing like having the Vandal family support each other. And I'm a 5-year guy there, and the place means a lot to me now. And just being able to go back and support the future Vandals is something that I'll forever do. Right. And so I'd love to see somebody go there and light it up and bring a huge crowd and get the entire, town behind them. And it'd just be fun to watch again.
Hey man, they've been recruiting at a really, really high level. So I know they got some some freshmen that are coming in that I think have really high potential at wide receiver. But we talked a little bit beforehand, man. You went down to the Hula Bowl, balled out, of course, got rave reviews from all the scouts I talked to and just media guys I talked to that got to go down there. Just what was some feedback you got from your experience there on stuff that you do really well, but also some stuff that they want to see you work on as you go to the next level?
Yeah, I think something that I do really well that they see is just my ball skills. I think you can watch like any tape you watch, you can see my ball skills, and I'm a great route runner, and I think I'm a confident route runner. I feel good, and I think the thing that they were most impressed with was just my football intelligence. Like I understand football. There's a lot of people who play football but don't get football, right? Like you could be a great. I say this analogy all the time. It's like you could be really smart, but it doesn't make you great at chess, right?
Right.
Like it's a game. Like football is a game, and you have to like know how to play the game. And so I think that's something. I think one thing that every scout in the entire country, if they watch this, if they don't watch this, they will say they want to see me run a 40, and I've been training for it, and I'm feeling really good, and I'm excited. I think I'm going to put up some really good numbers on pro day. I think that's a big question mark for me. Is, hey, what can this guy do on combine events, right? And so there's obviously little stuff that I'm self-critical on myself that I'm sure the scouts see as well. Like I love high pointing the ball, that I need to really emphasize running through the catch, and that's something that I'm really starting to emphasize more and more, especially through this training camp that I'm doing now, to where I'm getting more and more comfortable, like not doing a little bunny hop as I catch it, just catch it and run through the catch and more yards after catch and stuff like that. A lot of my catches this year, we were getting so much, cloud and cover 4 and just people not wanting to get beat deep that a lot of my catches would happen and I'd get hit almost immediately because of the coverage, right? Like you catch a corner route on cover 2, the safety's driving down on it. He's going to hit you soon. It's one of those dang catch, or the seam route where you bend it right behind the mic and the safety's going to come and hit you right after you catch it. But, so I think that was a lot of my catches this year, just with how defenses played. But yeah, that's something I've been working on. And there's so many things. You're either arrogant or you just really think the world of yourself if you think you can't get better at anything. And so I know there's a lot that I can improve on, and there's a lot of different things I'm working on. and it's just, you take all these challenges one step at a time, and there's nothing better than being self-critical about yourself, because you don't get your feelings hurt when somebody tells you something. So, I know there's a lot of things I can improve on, and there's so much, I have so much room to grow. And I'm happy that I had a lot of, I think one thing too, just backtracking, I'm happy that I had a lot of game experience. I think that's something that some people don't give enough value to, right? Like for me to go, and that's why I declared, was because I've played in 40 football games, in my career. That's a lot of games. People dream of playing in 20 in college, and so I've played a lot of games. I've played 80 snaps in like all those games. I have a lot of game experience that I feel like there's no more. I'm ready to go, right? And so I'm ready to go, but I know I have a lot to learn, and it's just an exciting journey right now for me.
You mentioned it earlier, and I should have pivoted. I pivoted to it then, but you got to play with your twin brother at Idaho, and then on top of that too, I want to say you guys were already there, but your cousin also plays basketball in Idaho as well. Well, what does it? How fun was it to play with your brother, and then also too to have another family member come play basketball at the school, and all three of you guys be at the same school at the same time at the height of your collegiate careers?
Yeah, I mean that it's like a storybook kind of, like you can't make it up, right? I'm so thankful for Coach Zach Claus for recruiting my cousin Jack to play basketball. He was not struggling getting recruited, but he's a little under recruited, and one day the basketball team was losing numbers, and we started talking. I went up to my brother and I went up to the head coach's office. We're like, hey, dude, you come look at my cousin. Like my brother and I, we're good guys. Go look at my cousin. And so he extended the PWO to him, and it was just, it's awesome. It's something that's brought his family and my family closer together, because they lived in California. They're in Bakersfield, and my brother and I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we just, if we saw him once or twice a year, that was very normal. So we didn't get a lot of time, living with each other. And so like when he moved in, not that it's like moving in with a stranger, but it was like moving in with somebody who you're not super familiar with. Right. And so just having him move in and live with my brother and I just made it, it made both of our families so much closer, which was awesome. And then getting to play football with my brother, that's something you like, my brother and I are out in the front yard. Hey, we're going to go play college football one day, and, it just seems like a dream. We're going to be on the same team, and and so when it all kind of came to fruition and was real, you're like, whoa, and when that opportunity came, it was just too good to pass up. And so getting to play with him was fantastic. He's my best friend, and as twin brothers, it's kind of crazy. We never fight. We never, it's just, we just, we love each other, and it was a great situation for both of us. And I'm glad he's had such an amazing career, and he's training to go pro to be an NFL long snapper right now. And, it's just we're both on very different but similar journeys, right?
For you, if an opportunity arises, well, like, would you guys want to play on the same team at the next level?
Oh my goodness! What, like, now we're just getting ridiculous, Zach. Come on now, man.
Hey, dude,
Like,
that's not even
obviously,
storybook. That's not even storybook. They're gonna make a Netflix. What is
yeah,
it?
like
The story about that.
if that happened, yeah, like that'd be insane. I mean, we're both very realistic people. Like wherever I go or wherever he goes, if either of us get opportunities, which I really I think I'll get an opportunity somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think he will too. But yeah, I mean, if that, I guess it's like rolling a 32-sided dice and having the same number hit twice, right? Because
that is that is a fact. I'll give you that. I mean, it's funny because my co-host is an active wide receivers coach down at Alcorn State, Coach Fred, and just due to NCAA stuff, because with the transfer portal, you never know. He could talk about a player on the show, they hit the portal. Now it's a little iffy because he's like, I just up talked him on the show, so he called you HH because he never wanted to say anyone's name, and all the Idaho fans would comment and be like, "Which HH are you talking about? Are you talking about Hayden or Hogan?" And he was like, he has a twin brother on the team, and I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, they're both on the team, and he was like, I'm gonna have to find another nickname. It was hilarious. Like he had no idea, and the Idaho fans gave him so much crap about it when we went to Frisco for the Natty.
yeah.
But man, some quick hitters to wrap this up. When you look at your game, is there an NFL wide receiver that you feel like you model your game after the most?
I feel like I love watching NFL wide receivers. I watch, a ton of YouTube videos and a ton of cut ups and just I think two receivers that I really like watching. I love watching Justin Jefferson. I just think he does a great job of attacking the football. Like he's one of those guys that are a fearless catcher, right? And he's very quick out of the top of his routes, and you can learn a lot from watching a guy like that. And you can see why he's had so much success because you get 0 yards if you don't catch the football. So you need to catch the football. But so you love watching a guy like that, a guy who knows how to high point it and make contested catches. Then you love a guy like Devontae Adams, who is so efficient at the line of scrimmage and so efficient on intermediate routes. And, obviously you can take the top off, you can catch posts and goes, but he's so efficient with his footwork at the line that it's like stuff I kind of want to replicate. You're like, hey, that's a pretty good release. I like that split release. Like he almost looks like he's dribbling a basketball through his legs,
Right.
It's a good release. Like I like that. So, and then of course, Cooper Kupp, big sky guy. Eastern Washington. I've played against Eastern Washington 5 times in my career, or 6 times or something. I think we played them twice during the COVID season. And so, you see a guy who's had so much success in the NFL out of the same conference as you. And, I think he's 6'1" and a quarter. I think I'm 6'1" and a quarter. I think he weighs 203 pounds. I think I weigh 207 pounds or 5 pounds, like a cookie cutter. If you looked at us evenly, we're very similar, in stature and in size. And so my goal is to go try to beat all of his combine numbers.
Hey, if you beat all those combine numbers, man, we're having a whole different, listen, that whole, I think I'll get a shot turns into just where am I going to get a shot for sure, man. But
I'll tell you, I feel very good about it too. So I think, again, it'll be interesting, but I think I can do this. I know
looking back through your career, man, if there's one game over your entire career at Idaho that you could experience one more time, what game would that be?
I'd have to say the Montana State in the Kibbe Dome, because it was in the Kibbe Dome. That was the number 2 team in the country, full house, everybody's there. We sold out all of our home games this year. And so, I love playing at Montana. Montana is such a, you spoke about the game. We go beat, I think they were number 3 in the country at the time at their house. I'm pretty sure the spread was just ginormous. It was 17.5 points or something.
Yeah.
You get people hey, what do you do? You're like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm going to go play ball. And, and so you win a game like that. It's pretty awesome. But I just, the Kibbe Dome is so special to me, and practicing it all the time. I just love to, if I could relive that game and that night and, get to see all the Vandal fans and everybody cheering and just loving the atmosphere and taking pictures with everybody is pretty awesome. You love that.
That game was electric, man. I remember. I mean, you guys had so many games this year that just kind of stick out in my mind because you had the ESPN2 games, obviously the 2 playoff runs. I hate because I'm all the way down to Southern Alabama, so I didn't really get to make a lot of trips out to Idaho. That's a long trip, but I did
just right across the street. But
yeah, I did get to see y'all when y'all came down to Southeastern, man. So I am glad I got to see y'all in person at least for one game over your career, but. Looking again at your career, who are 1 or 2 of the best defensive players that you've ever had to go one-on-one against?
There's not a ton of names that stick out to me. But there's one name that I remember because I was younger at the time and I was having to go against him, and I was like, dude, this guy's freaking good. It was Jordan Perryman. And I think he transferred to Washington. He was at UC Davis and he transferred to Washington. But I just remember going against him, and Coach Petrino put a little bit of handcuffs on me. He wouldn't let me inside release, which sucked. Being a receiver and the way he played, Perriman would just wash you to the sideline. He was a big physical corner. So it was just annoying not being allowed to inside release him. I think that made it a lot harder on me. If I could inside release him, I think I would have had a lot more, I would have had a lot easier time with him. It's just, you take away half my field when you make me outside release every time, and somebody's playing outside of me, and then all he wants to do is wash. But I remember him being really good. And yeah, I think Weber State had a lot of good DBs as well, and you could see the people they've sent off. We didn't play against them last year, but I'm living with a dude here. His name's Eddie Heckard.
Yes.
Went to BYU and had a great season this year, and so you can just see guys like that who they've kind of cycled through. And I'm pretty sure both the Weber State corners this year or last year transferred to BYU and started this year.
Yeah, because because I think they had 2 DBs transfer and started BYU, and then Maxwell stayed and was an All-American again.
Yeah.
At the corner too. So I mean, they just had so many guys. And then you mentioned the history at Weber. They've sent plenty of guys to the NFL from the defensive back spot.
So yeah, they've had a lot of good guys. I have one question for you before we wrap this up. You're at South Alabama, or you're in Southern Alabama. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I met at the Hula Bowl. He threw me the touchdown at Carter.
Oh yeah, Carter Bradley, the quarterback here at South. Yeah, I'm actually live in Mobile, which is the same city South Alabama's in. The stadium for that South plays in is probably 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah, he's such a good dude. Him and I had a great time, and we just somehow we ended up always riding on the bus back from practice together, and just became buddies. But he's a good dude. I like the guy a lot. I think I hope he gets a shot. He's just one of those guys that hard worker, and I think he will get a shot. I know he got a East-West Shrine Bowl invite, and so it should be fun.
Yeah, I want to say he got promoted to the Senior Bowl.
Did he?
As well? I believe so.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was because I was because I went to cover the Senior Bowl because obviously it's right here, and I was I think he got elevated from the
Hula
Bowl.
I didn't even watch.
Yeah,
I watched. I didn't see stats.
I don't remember what his stats were. I mean, really and truly, he was one of the better quarterbacks throughout practice. So I think he did fine, man. The South guys always, I remember being a kid, that program, I remember when they started the program because they didn't have a football program for that school. They started it and then slowly moved their way up. I want to say they were independent for a while and then they moved into the Sun Belt. And just to see the growth of the talent that they have there is crazy. Because I remember it was 3 or 4 years ago, they sent their first guy to the league. And now they got guys every few years that get drafted. They had the wide receiver that went to Dallas in the second round, Jalen Tolbert, a year or two ago.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's I wish Idaho was still in the Sun Belt, then we would have played you guys.
Yeah, right.
I love being in the Big Sky. I think it makes more sense for us. So a lot closer and a lot more rivalry games actually, because South Alabama doesn't give a crap about coming to play Idaho, and
and the fans aren't probably traveling to that either.
Yeah, we want to play Montana. We want to play Montana State.
And to be fair, the Big Sky has done a really good job of sending guys to the league, them in the Valley for sure from the FCS. And as an FCS guy now, I'm glad Idaho's in the FCS, especially with some of the bigger brands starting to kind of look at the next level and everything. I think it's good when you have the bigger brands in the FCS be good at the FCS level, because I hate seeing teams jump and not be good at the next level. To me,
and you see the how competitive the Big Sky is, and how competitive the Missouri Valley is. We go play Nevada, and they're a bottom team in the Mountain West, and we roll them by 30. 33 points. I think it was 36-3 or 33-6 or something like that. And you look at that and you're man, this is supposed to be a FBS school, bunch of maulers. The bottom of the Big Sky is the bottom of the Mountain West, and the top of the Big Sky would run it well with the top of the Mountain West, besides for when Boise State or Fresno State's really rolling, but the Aztecs weren't great this year. You look at those teams, I'm if we go played against those guys, I think we'd give them a hard time, and I think we could win. Go play UNLV, but it's just one of those things that you leave so many question marks about it, and you're you don't know, right? Nobody knows, but all you know is it's good football.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, because you guys beat Nevada this year. Sac State beat Colorado State by 40.
Yeah,
a year ago.
We go beat Sac State this year, and then Sac State beat Stanford this year, and we go beat Sac State the following week after beating Stanford. I'm going to play Sac State thinking I'm going to play a real Pac-12 team. Holy crap, they just beat Stanford at Stanford. They just had their old head coach leave to Stanford. How would that guy not know how to coach against Sac State? You think advantage Stanford for sure, and Sac State goes and wins, and then we go beat Sac State, and it's wow, like this is a competitive conference.
It
There's
in Northern Arizona beat Arizona like 2 times since you've been at Idaho, I wanna say.
no, they didn't win, but they've lost by like 6 points or something.
Yeah. I'll say they've been
This
close. I
Yeah,
know
this
that.
year was a little different. Arizona was a lot better
Yeah.
this year, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
like Arizona was a top 25 team in the country this year. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. You see, like obviously you get SCS, SEC. You get the SEC, and those guys are, that's SEC football. Everybody knows
Yeah.
SEC football. There's a reason why so many of them make the playoff every year, and why Florida State doesn't. And then, in my opinion, I think Georgia still should have made it, but whatever.
Yeah. That's
And,
a whole nother you gotta open up a
a whole
whole
nother
nother box of
argument, whole
worms.
nother rabbit hole. But yeah, it's interesting to see how competitive all the intermediate football team are. That really is a coin flip every Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. It makes it really fun.
Man, it does. Man, I can't believe I mean, listen, 40 minutes, man, I appreciate you so much, man, for giving me this much of your time, man. I know you've been super busy trying to get ready for the draft and get ready for the next level, pro day, stuff like that. But man, Hayden, the last thing, let people know where they can follow your draft journey, man. Find you on social media, reach out to you, anything people need, and anything you want to promote, this time's yours, man.
Yeah, well, I guess I'd just like to promote my mom and dad for helping me get here. Thank you, mom and dad. My mom owns a Chick-fil-A in Phoenix, Arizona, and Tatum and Cactus. So go there and give her a hard time if you're around. And then my dad does Jostens, sells caps and gowns, rings, and diplomas. So give him a hard time if you're a high school student in Arizona too. I guess that's all I got. And then, yeah, Hayden Hatten on Instagram, and you got the Twitter right there. But yeah, I won't really. I'm not a huge social media guy. I only keep it because I have to post and repost or whatever. But I try to get off of it as much as I can. But yeah, if I guess you could follow my NFL journey there, and fingers crossed everything kind of works out. And hey, Zach, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it, and I can't even believe we're at 40 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So
It definitely does, man. Again, man, I appreciate you so much, guys. Make sure to go follow Hayden on all social media, man. Listen, he keeps saying he hopes. I'm saying it's going to happen, man. You can catch this guy on Sundays very, very soon, man. I can't wait to see what happens when the NFL draft rolls around and we get to see all our FCS guys get to take that step to the next level. But guys, for Hayden Hatten, for myself, for the Blue Bloods, man, we are out for right now.